So here we are. Marko, come and get me. Marko shows up. And this is how he makes America's Most Wanted. And it was true, I'd write him like 20-page letters, I'd just write him in my broken English, and this is when I started trying to go into the STEM program. I got accepted early because I was really good at math, right? And I told you I aced those physics courses. The hard part was, it was hard to hide me. It was even hard to hide me from myself, and I did not like being ripped away from my family or off the res. I'd screamed and cried, and so, and then you're like, well, shit, we'll do this, we'll do that, and then I'm getting exposure to these kids who do have those issues, so it wasn't always good, even though there were good parts to it, Either way, there I am, and Marco's making me read a book every day. I've, read so many damn books, it's not even funny, and you'd think it would have helped me with my English, and then he's sitting there giving me essays while I'm writing him my letters. And, anyways, I feel like, when the hell haven't I been in prison? The story of my life, just for being born. And I was a pretty happy kid growing up. So if I didn't have those bright spots, then I wouldn't have been fighting so hard to get back all the time, And yeah, there's a lot to that story, and I told you some of my favorite parts of it, and I did settle down, and I was wild. And I was on the motorcycles, and I, was stunt riding, and, I got accepted onto Suicide Girls, and, I was doing things like that too, because I had to do something. I was also working at the phone company full time, and then, stripping becomes an option when you're of age. In Utah, you have to wear pasties, so it's really stripping. If your nipples and vag are covered, you can see more on the internet, anyways. That's why I say it is entertainment. And, trails, when your dancer comes in, walking on her hands, does an insane pole dance, that's talent. You're talking about insane athletic ability, and it's transformed into pole dancing classes and fitness, and it is a great way to sculpt and tone your body. So either way, it was kind of funny, all right? I told you I'll fart in a jar and make you pay for it. And this is the side of me where they're like, what are we going to do with her?